Hey, welcome to Discovering More. I'm Ethan Lumen here with David Forkey today, pastors here at Peace Church. We're standing next to our prayer path on the south side of our property here at 501 East Fillmore. And we got a prayer path all around the campus. And today our word for the journey is wisdom. Yeah, David talked about that this past weekend.
Mm-hmm. Well, you want me to go from there?
Yeah.
As I said in the message, I think wisdom is just this huge word. People think about wisdom in so many ways, but what we focus in on, of course, is what does godly wisdom look like, and how do we gain that kind of wisdom? And as we read in Proverbs, kind of the classic line on that is that it's the fear of the Lord that is the beginning of wisdom. And that, as I read that, I see that as a relationship with God, a true relationship with God, where we recognize who God is and then who we are in relation to Him as His creation that is loved and redeemed. And we begin there, and so then we look to Him for His wisdom and guidance.
Yeah, and you had pulled a little bit out about Jesus and His connection to wisdom, and
yeah, in fact, well, in the New Testament, it actually says Jesus is the wisdom of God, and which is kind of an interesting concept. You know, He is wisdom embodied, and all of God's wisdom is found within Jesus, but also then within the mission and ministry of Jesus as He goes to the cross to bring us salvation.
Yeah, and one of the under talked about people. You know, we have David, so we got son of David, we got Moses, factors large, from the Old Testament into the New Testament, and Jesus' relationship. But one that is underplayed is Solomon. You know, but there's that line, he says, one greater than Solomon is here.
Yeah.
And so that idea that Solomon being the wisest person to have lived, and everyone flocking from all these different areas, and Jesus is like, Solomon was great. He had all the money, all the stuff, and everyone saw him, but here is one greater than Solomon. Right in front of you, here is wisdom personified.
Yeah, and he's talking to the Jewish leaders that are kind of full of themselves at that point, thinking, hey, we've got the wisdom, we've got the history, we've got the glory of God, and looking to David and Solomon, and they say, yeah, you guys think you've got it figured out, but yeah, what I'm bringing to you is so much greater than Solomon and all that you are putting your hope and trust in.
Yeah. Well, and you had drawn out Solomon's prayer a little bit as well, part of me is like trying to remember, because in my daily Bible reading, I'm like in Chronicles, so I've hit the first iteration of David and Solomon, and now I'm in the second iteration of David and Solomon in First and Second Chronicles. So I'm like trying to make sure like it's not just coming from from my reading in the Bible, but you know that idea that Solomon prays for wisdom, and that's what this series is really about. How wisdom becomes a big part of our prayer. Like, God, give us the insight and the knowledge and the understanding. Like, God is willing to bless His people with understanding. We can actually know things.
Right, and James promises that. In James he promises that if you ask, He will give it to you. It says it straight up. If you ask for wisdom, God will give it to you.
Yeah.
That's what He wants for His children. He wants us to be able to be wise in how we live our lives. And that's part of the full life that Jesus came and died and rose again for, to give us a full life here now. And part of that is to live in a sense of actually feeling like God is here giving me the wisdom I need to do well in life. And
that one thing that always kind of cracks me up about that James one is, you know, Jesus is like, ask for anything, it'll be given to you. And James is like, if you ask for wisdom, it will be given to you. And so I love the specificity of that.
I always wondered what might have been going on in James's mind when he says, if any of you lacks wisdom, and I always wondered, is he thinking about a couple certain people?
Yeah.
and so he broadens it out, just to kind of not call somebody out.
But to compare that with the Solomon ask, God says to Solomon, ask for anything.
Right. Ask what you want.
And Solomon asks for wisdom. And so I don't know if I've ever put those two together in this way before. Like as you building your sermon, to think about it in that regard. Hey, Solomon.
Yeah, and it's interesting to me. So it begins with Solomon says, and Solomon loved the Lord like his father David did, and so he had a relationship with God, and so at that point he was as I look at it, he already had enough wisdom from God to know that wisdom was what he needed to ask God for. And then it takes off from there. He's known, around the known world at that time for his wisdom.
Yeah.
And of course, there are a few stories that go along with that. Marley talked in the children's missions about about Solomon saying, "Let's cut that baby in half in order to get to the bottom of who was really the mother of the baby." So, fascinating story, but given to us to underscore the wisdom of Solomon that he received when he asked for it. But to me, I guess I really want to just point out again that the wisdom of God, we tend to think about wisdom as, I need wisdom for this big decision or big moments in life. I think I might want to get married, or should we buy a house, or should I change careers? Which, that's an important time. Those are important times to seek God's wisdom and rely on God's wisdom. But if you read in the scriptures, God's wisdom is really meant to be for a daily life, a daily walk with God.
Right.
In all that we do, that we're being wise in how we do everything throughout the day.
Right, you open up the book of Proverbs. It's about daily living.
Right.
And there's something to be said about everything. And Proverbs can be a good pathway to prayer as well. Psalms is obviously the prayer book of the church, but if we can leverage Proverbs in that same way, hey, see this as an opportunity as you seek wisdom. You seek this as a prayer book too.
Yeah, Proverbs gets down to some very little detailed things, and it talks about things that wisdom will help us avoid, and things that wisdom will help us to lead into for that full life that we're talking about. Yeah.
Well, we hope that you spend some time in Proverbs, in the scriptures, seeking wisdom, and make that part of your prayer this week. God, give me wisdom. Help me see more clearly myself in my life, in my situation, and how best to carry myself in the way that Jesus did, and how Jesus would himself carry himself in my life.
Yeah.
So, thanks for tuning in to these Discovering More. We hope this is a blessing to you in your week and your walk with Jesus.